I am Bridget Lake, president of the Oviedo Winter Springs Regional Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our mental health meeting, how to stay healthy, how to stay mentally healthy in a COVID world. The Oviedo Winter Springs Regional Chamber of Commerce is here to serve as a platform for enhancing business and community interests in our region. And most importantly, we are here as a business resource, providing education, advocacy, and connections. Before we start today, I'm going to take a moment to thank our doctors, nurses, first responders, and our healthcare professionals out there helping others and saving lives. A few of our chamber announcements. Our OviedoWinterSprings.org website has our Chamber Resources COVID-19 tab. If you've missed any of our Zoom meetings, catch up with those and check out many of our resources there. We have our Facebook OWSRCC discussion group. Our members get to chat and stay up to date. And we have our upcoming events. Monday, May 18th at noon, we have a virtual business alliance. Tuesday, May 18th at 3:30, we have our Economic Development Committee. And Friday, May 22nd at 10 a.m., we have a Small Business U. I'd like to thank today's sponsors. We have Arnie Lee Nussbaum, House MC of the Oviedo Winter Springs Regional Chamber of Commerce. Arnie wishes everyone good health and blessings during this challenging time. And we have the UCF SBDC, the Florida Small Business Development Center at the University of Central Florida helps small and medium businesses located in Central Florida grow and succeed. They provide high value, confidential consulting at no cost, business training through seminars and workshops, market research resources, and support. As during any disaster, they are here to help your business recover. Their team of consultants can assist you in understanding, preparing, and submitting your loan applications, as well as other post-disaster challenges. And now I would like to introduce Eric Welch. Over 25 years of nonprofit management, development, marketing, fundraising, advocacy, and donor relations expertise. Currently spearheads the efforts of National Alliance on Mental Illness Greater Orlando as Executive Director, a position he has had for over 3 years. Eric represents the organization and advocates for mental health at all levels, including local, state, and national initiatives. Eric also serves on the NAMI National Strategic Planning Committee and currently represents fellow executive directors as a NAMI Executive Council Officer. Recently, Eric serves as a spokesperson for mental health issues throughout Central Florida. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you is the most important question here. How are you doing today?
That is a very important question, as mental health is the topic today. Why don't you give us an update?
Well, thanks so much. It's so important right now to shine a spotlight on mental health. You know, we've been talking about physical distancing and physical health, and then we talk about, I'm sure this group has talked a lot about financial health and economic health, but there's a third part of this to make sure we take a look at, and that's managing our own mental health and mental wellness. This is May is Mental Health Month. It's always been Mental Health Month, but it really couldn't have come at a more opportune time right now that we just take a minute and just focus on what we're doing on our mental health and mental wellness. So I want to take a little bit to talk about who we are, what we do at NAMI Greater Orlando. First, I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not a practitioner of any kind. I'm just somebody that grew up in a house with mental health conditions. Then I raised a house with mental health conditions. Now I currently live in another house with mental health conditions. So I have a lot of lived experience on this. So I'm one of the people that tell stories that helps others in the world of NAMI Greater Orlando. And who we are is we are the education and support people. We're dedicated to improving the quality of life for individuals and their supporting families. And we do that through educational programs, free of cost, And of course, over the last couple of months, all of our in-person support groups and in-person classes have put on hiatus, much like Bridget and I were talking about a lot of the chamber things. You know, we're all working to figure out how we can still provide what we know our community needs in the best way we can. So we've moved our support groups to online, and right now we're currently offering online connections and family support groups. So just a reminder of mental health, because we, you know, a lot of people on this, I'm sure chamber people are go, go, go people like me, and we don't stop and think about our mental health. And it's, you know, our well-being. How do we feel every day? What are we going through? Ability to roll with the punches, so to speak, or do key functions. You know, I imagine all of us have woken up at least one day just over the past couple of months and just been in a little bit of a fog. You know, we just don't know what's what, and that's normal. So having and I will say that there was a recent article that said, you know, overall 1 in 5 of us will experience a mental health condition over their lifetime. In the last month or so, there was an article that came out that said it's almost 50% that is saying that their mental health has been affected by COVID. And again, another 1 in 5 of that said seriously affected. So we need to make sure we know what that means. And what can that mean is, of course, things like depression and anxiety. Depression, still, back to our economic part, depression costs billions and billions of dollars to the to the nation. That depression is the number one mental health condition. You know, when people come in and they're just not productive, and now we're seeing how does that affect how is that part of a COVID world as well. So I listed a couple of the most common mental health conditions there. So this is, we all know the 5, what is it? The grief cycle, the 5 stages of grief. We all been through that. I like to tell the story of how I once went through the 5 stages of grief in about a minute and a half. So I went to the Elton John concert. Oh man, that was about a year ago now, at least maybe almost a year and a half ago. It's a Goodbye Yellow Brick Road concert where Elton is saying goodbye, right? And I'm sitting there, you know, waiting for it to go on, 7 o'clock. And this announcement comes on, ladies and gentlemen, the Elton John concert has been canceled. Please prepare for, we will let you know when it will be postponed. So you're sitting there, right? And the first thing you're like is, what? No, what? Wait a minute, who is this guy? Wait, who are you? Wait, I want Elton out here. Oh, you know what? He'll probably come out in a few minutes. Like, they'll probably figure something out. It'll be okay. Oh my gosh, the lights went on. Oh, people are getting up. Oh, this isn't good. Oh, I guess I better get up and go, right? So we do it in our daily lives. Things happen. You know, is the Elton John a traumatic experience? Not really. He did come back. I did get to go again. He said goodbye. Then he announced a whole nother year-long tour that has now been recanceled again. So he's saying goodbye for a long time. But it was a great concert anyways. But, you know, we do it in our daily lives. When we hear news that was unexpected, we go through this. So we all know this. These are things, and in the world of COVID, any one of these can happen at any given day. We can turn on the news and see something new. Now we're back in denial, or maybe we're angry, or maybe we're bargaining over this thing and we're depressed over something else. So in any given day, you're likely feeling all of these emotions, and the people around you are likely feeling all of these emotions. And in the world of the stages of emotional response, these are predictable things when there is a catastrophic event in your life, and we've all been through them. The loss of anything is, we know what that looks like. It's dealing with grief, it's needs, reaching out to others. And the completely ironic thing about this that we all know is that we're taught when we're grieving or we're experiencing loss, what do? Well, we get everybody together. We hug, right? We have something going on. You know, we support each other. And now we're told we have these traumatic events going on, whether it's, you know, in this world, business and unemployment and all those things. We have traumatic events going on, but yet we have to isolate. So that's why what Bridget is doing here is so important. You have to keep talking. You have to keep connecting. The good news is phone calls are up like 300%. We learned how to talk on the phone again. we're all Zooming and FaceTiming. Like in the back of maybe pre-COVID, we were just text me, whatever. But now we really need that connection. And this number three, is that number three? Number two, this learning to cope is what I'll get into next. But getting in touch with your own coping strategies of when you're in one of these, which we've said is normal, what can you do? What works best for you? What works for you may not work for other people, but knowing what's best for you. And this isn't new. We've been talking about these. I would have had the same presentation to you guys pre-COVID saying, hey, if you're getting burned out and stressed out, you need to learn to go outside, to exercise, to meditate, right? But now it's crucial. Now it's almost survival. That if we don't do these things, we're headed for a far bigger world. And I can tell you that mental health experts are predicting a mental health epidemic that'll have a longer curve. So if we don't start doing some of these things now, these coping strategies, this mental health epidemic of increase in the suicide lifeline calls and that sort of thing will have a bigger curve. So let's go and talk about what some of these coping mechanisms are here. So, I love that. Give yourself a hug, right? Routine. We have been taken and thrown out of our routine. All these business people in here, I'm guarantee you, they had I get up at 6, I go to this, I do this, I work out, we all have our routine. That's all gone. So we have to get back into some kind of routine. For those of us that can go to the office, then we get to the office at our normal time and try, even though we're distancing and even though we're doing all the other things, but whatever it is, if you're working from home, just get back into a routine that works for you. Second is sleep. Prioritize sleep. Make sleep important. Get that routine equals. I'm not going to sit on the phone and scroll and look at the bad news until 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So exercise, we know that the endorphins of exercise, it's harder than ever. Gyms are closed. Maybe your routine was you go to the gym. Well, now we have to at least walk around or do something at home. And this be kind. There's more grace than ever is needed. Give yourself a minute to be angry or sad. Give others the minute that they need. Just give that extra sense of grace and kindness to your coworkers, to your family, right now I'm trying to stick on one of my precepts, which is, we all work on it, but it's assume good intent. No, everybody here is trying. We're all doing the best we can in something that nobody ever thought of, or at least maybe somebody did, but we certainly never could have predicted in Orlando that suddenly Disney would be not open for 2 months, right? It's just everybody's doing the best they can, and keep doing the best you can. Next slide. So, and back to this emotional connections. That's why I start off with Bridget of how are you? So I've changed one of my talking points now to, we always wake up and say, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Oh, my weekend, the weather, whatever. But I'm changing that to, no, how are you? How are you today? And when Bridget asked me, I said, you know what? My morning was a little rough, and maybe you wouldn't say that to somebody you didn't know before, but you got to say, you know what? This morning, I'm here. I'm good. I made it through it. But, I got a little off this morning. That's okay. We're going to have mornings that we're off. So be emotionally connected. Talk about the emotions with people of, hey, how am I doing? My kids are doing well. My kids aren't doing well, whatever, and you have to start really making those emotional connections, especially with your support group. You are the support system for somebody in your life, and you have a support system as well. So you both have to give and take. If it's a good day for you, then you I can support you. If it's not such a good day, you're hey, I need support, right? So, understand what that is. Incorporate, this, now that we're all saying, hey, Zoom and connect, and you use your phones, you're in and out. I've got 2 screens and 1 phone and notes to my side. Take some time to just walk around, be alone, get in the moment. That's this mindfulness that's next. Practice the how am I right now? The I guarantee if you Googled right now, you could get a survey that says what's going to happen is exactly what you thought is going to happen. And you actually might get one that says it's exactly the opposite of what you think is going to happen right now. So there's so much projection, nobody, of here's what might be coming. Here's what the experts are saying. Other experts are saying this, we just have to get in the moment of take time to be grateful and be in the moment. Say every night before you go to bed, just say, I am thankful that 2020 technology has FaceTime. Does anybody ever remember like Star Trek? This was the future, right? I remember going to Epcot back in the day and saying, oh my gosh, this person's talking to me live. This is amazing, right? So just be grateful that even our technology can handle the fact that you can look eye to eye at somebody and say, hey, how you doing? Right? This is good. So be grateful for whatever it is. And then I saw somebody comment of the news. We know that, it wants to tell you the bad news every 3 minutes. There's always something breaking news that is worse than 3 minutes ago. So it is important to be informed. I stay informed. I'm sure Bridget and the crew stay as informed. In fact, she was on the press conference where she found me. But you need a break from it because it can weigh on you. So give yourself, what I try to do is do it. Maybe it was going to be 2 times. I couldn't actually make that work. So it's more like 3 times. I try to just kind of get a feel for what the latest is today, who's opening, who's closing. Yesterday, Lake Eola fireworks closed. Everybody was sad about that. Things like that, okay, I'm aware and now I move on. And just give yourself a little bit extra time.
Thank you.
Next slide. What are you on the next slide? Okay, this is that curve I was talking about. Mental health experts are saying there's a second mental health curve. And of course, we know, Florida is woefully underfunded in terms of all systems, but especially in the mental health system. So that curve, we have to get ahead of to make sure our system can handle it. You mentioned, Bridget, speaking of the system, you mentioned our heroes. Let's not forget our mental health heroes. There are therapists, counselors, psychiatrists calling clients saying, hey, how you doing? What's going on in your life? For totally free of charge. There's the mental health heroes have never stopped working. The lifelines stay up. Our office here at NAMI Greater Orlando, our phone stayed up. And that's an important part of flattening this curve. If we want to flatten this curve, we're going to have to start being open and honest with our own emotions and everything that's going on, and reaching out to our professionals. Now's the time to, if you have somebody that you're seeing, a regular counselor, probably time to see him again. If you don't have one, maybe time to get one. And that's going to of course, put a strain on the system. So go to the next slide. List of resources. I'm sure you guys will put those up later. I don't want to read them off to you. I will say that the Suicide Prevention Lifeline showed a 30% increase. There is a line that's, I don't know if the disaster line is on here. The SAMHSA disaster one is the one that really went up, and that had an 800% increase. So, and here at NAMI Greater Orlando, our call volume went up about 30%. And we're seeing more people calling for support than ever. We used to get calls for housing and education and some other things, but now our number one ask is for support. Don't forget, here locally, there's the Heart of Florida United Way 211 line is sort of the catch-all. So put that out to your friends, your family, your employees. If you're having issues, if you're struggling with anything, 211 is the community line to get you resources. Okay, before we go into questions, I do want to do a quick plug for NAMI Greater Orlando, especially that you guys in Oviedo. Our largest fundraiser is NAMI Walks, and we've been doing that for 15 years. And pre-March, whatever it was, we were preparing to have an April event with 1,000 people at Cranesroost Park, and that's what we've done year after year. We have not done that. We postponed it now to June 20th. We hope to have some sort of socially distanced event on June 20th. It's a big lake, so hopefully we can get people to just kind of walk around on their own. But if mental health is important to you, I would encourage you to check out our website at namigo.org, as well as the namiwalks.org. Like many of your favorite charities right now, we're all trying to figure out the best way to recoup from these events that we every year put a lot of. I mean, you guys know your chamber people. You know, you get a lot out of these events, and so we're all trying to figure out how to make that work. So I appreciate the time and all that. I probably have another 30 minutes of stats and figures and everything, but we thought we would take some time for questions and responses to what I just said. So and we can go back to full gallery on this, so I'm done.
I have some questions myself. I thought that was really interesting. I've always tried to figure out the virtual hug, but I think from now on we should just do the end where we all hug each other. I thought that was awesome. I'm like trying to figure out how to hug people on Zoom, and I'm like, how do you make that happen? But now if we just do the virtual hug like that, it makes sense. You said,
you know, let me interrupt there. There's studies that say endorphins, and I haven't done this, but like you can fake yourself out when you give yourself a hug.
Yeah.
So like if you do that and you get the endorphins and close your eye, like your brain gives you the same sort of thing. So I mean, let's hope we have somebody to hug in our lives. But, you know, a virtual hug helps. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Bridget.
I'm definitely in on that one. You said 1 out of 5 people have mental health issues, and then you had brought this statistic up about COVID and how half of the people, 50%, are saying that they have a mental health issue because of COVID. And I think, Melissa, if you could go back a couple slides, you were talking about the ways to prevent this. I know one of the ways that I am one to really, routine is it's my deal. Like, I have to stay on a routine. It's a way for me to stay healthy. It's a way for me to stay, I know that, you know, coming into the 9 to 5, or, you know, a lot of people know my hours are a lot more than that, but having that where I get to focus on work and do my job and not be distracted. And when I do have these issues that are beyond that I don't have control over, as no one has control over this COVID pandemic, I tend to throw myself into work more as a distraction. Some people tend to work out more. That's why I've heard of, you know, it's funny, some people say the COVID-15 and they put on 15 pounds and people are eating more. And then I've seen people who are losing weight because they're actually going out for runs and jogs more. So it really does depend on your coping mechanism of how to handle with stress and deal with stuff. Some people are talking on the phone more, as you mentioned. Some people are reaching out to people more. Some people are sleeping more. Some people are, you know, there's all different coping mechanisms. What are some other ideas for that? Or what are you hearing that people are utilizing for coping mechanisms that have been useful, that have worked?
Yeah, and let me start with what you said about routine. Let me just talk about for a second, if you don't establish that routine. Like you said, a normal day for many of us was, you know, a long day at work, commute home, get mad at traffic, maybe take a phone call on the way home, maybe not, right? Maybe you use that moment for a podcast or a Zen or whatever. Get home, you know, don't bother us for a bit. If you're a family, you know, don't bother me for a bit. I need a little bit to get together. Okay, now we can start talk, and we get through the night, and you rinse and repeat, right? Now you're talking about all of that happens at home. You go straight from work, those of you that have kids, you're trying to do the kids, you're trying to get to school, then something else comes in, your boss is expecting you to be at the Zoom 24/7 because they're paying you. You know, there's this whole non-routine. You look up, you start at 9 o'clock, it's now 2 o'clock, you haven't eaten anything. You know, so the lack of routine and the lack of structure will get to you with just by going through and just doing. So if you're talking about what I'm hearing that's working, you know, things like puzzle sales went through the roof, and games are up. You know, there are people that are in the world of, I try to go back to economy here for this crew, but there are people that are doing okay. I've got a friend who is a manufacturer of beard tchotchkes and beard oil, a small business like that. Man, everybody's growing beards. I'm doing just fine. So there are people doing okay with their businesses, so, but I would say that what I'm hearing, again, everybody knows what works for them. And maybe it's something, wow, I used to read, I don't read it, haven't read anymore. It's time to read a book again. Or, for me, I never have time for photography. I said I was going to do a lot more. I did for a while. Then and give yourself the grace on that too. That goes back to the grace. Here's what we all did. We all were like, okay, I'm at home now. I'm going to get all these projects done. I'm going to make a list, and I'm going to clean up the patio, and I'm going to landscape, and I'm going to get the attic done, all these projects. And then you did about 1.5, and you got a little tired of it. And that's normal. That's what we all did. We all did some good things, and congratulations on what you did, but give yourself the grace to I just not really in the mood to paint the garage like I thought I was, it's okay. So, but find what works for you. If gardening works for you, then budget it, say 30 minutes of gardening, and you can do it if you're working from home. Now, the good news is you can do it on a Wednesday at noon.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Interesting point. You were saying the 5 stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I cannot tell you how many times those have gone through my head every day, a million times. And especially because you don't have a choice over what's going on. And you and I, especially in our work scenarios, and many people here dealing with so many issues they've never dealt with, and having to, I always tell people to try to breathe more, because it's one of those that I'm like, we have no control sometimes. And my staff has done it for me also. And sometimes I'm like, I just need a minute, because I know that I just need to breathe, because I don't have control over this situation. But it's trying to figure out how to get through it. And I feel like it's tasking ourselves so much more than it used to. And it's taking a toll on us mentally. And is that part of this mental health issue also?
I think it's all combined. And there's also, again, I'm just Mr. Here's the thing too of what about my news. Like, my news is all the mental health stuff. So I get all these different studies coming in. There's actual studies about Zooming, and this FaceTiming takes a lot of energy. When you and I are talking through here, we're not getting all the visual cues. We're not getting what's going on the side. Right now you are this big on my screen. So even to eye contact it takes a lot of energy. And there was an article talked about people becoming zombies, right? You're just okay. So just the amount of energy that it takes to get through the day. Think about what my conversation would have been like pre-COVID. If I have a mental health in the workplace where I say, be kind, look for mental health conditions in the workplace, like somebody going through a divorce, or somebody that lost somebody in their family, or even a pet, like you want to give somebody a little bit of extra, okay, they're not, they'll be back around, but I'm going to give them a little bit of extra time now. Well, that's all of us now. We all have to do that every day. We have to give ourselves some extra time. We're all going through the loss of something. And you also mentioned something I really like, Bridget, and that this is a group of leaders, right? We're all leaders. So when there's a problem, what do? Well, we get together and we create a strategic plan, and we're going to have the 5-point plan and the 40 things, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And I did that a little bit. And then, the next day it's like, well, we're not sure if that's going to work yet. We got to wait to see what the governor's going to say. Okay. So, we're trying to, and it's okay to have your plan. We want to you have your backup plans and your backup plans. That's what you have to be ready to do. And go get those PPPs. I'm sure we got ours. Yay for us. If you got it, yay. But, go all of those things that have your plans but at the same time, it's all about mindfulness of today. Just do what it takes to survive the day, keep the business open for today, keep the employees paid for today. And tomorrow we might have more information. And then again, like I said, you rinse and repeat tomorrow, but that's very tiring. That's not the way we're used to doing business. We're used to, okay, it's May. It's time for our lunch. Our lunch is every second Tuesday. I'm just guessing, but
yes, ours is coming up. We'll see you there on Zoom.
might as well.
We have a question. Why such underfunding issues related to mental health, especially considering it seems to be getting worse? I see you shaking your head. You're just,
yeah. I mean, it is the world of our legislature. The world of us in Florida. Mental health is just one of many things that is severely underfunded. In fact, per capita, depending on who you ask, it can be, we're actually 50th out of 50. You ask somebody else, it's 46 out of 50. But regardless, we're one of the last in the country on mental health. We don't spend a lot on mental health. We don't spend a lot on roads. We don't spend a lot on teachers. We can go on and on. But why? We have been making some good progress. And I told Bridget earlier, I was on a Zoom call last night with Representative Escamani, and there's been a lot of progress and there's a lot of talk about it. In fact, the amount of school counselors that we have has gone up since the Stoneman-Douglas Act. So there's been a lot of progress in terms of getting mental health to students and things out there. We've come a long way, but we're still very underfunded. The why is just the priorities of our state. So if that's important to you, I encourage you to know that. There's another part of my advocacy part, know who your folks are. I can say that, that the law enforcement guys get it, the local guys get it, everybody around here gets it. But as far as funding priorities, that's a different issue.
Yeah, and I saw you shaking your head when you got that question. It's just I could feel the frustration. Just it's an important issue, and I guess we should just be grateful that it's being talked more and more about, because if it wasn't, it would not be getting the attention, and it would not be getting the funding, and it is growing. But then again, everyone wants that pot of money, and it gets split up, and we don't always find the long end of the stick on that one, I guess we should say.
Mm-hmm. And one of the silver linings, I guess, of all this is that we are now having these conversations. We're having the how are you conversations. There is a long stigma about mental health of, well, if somebody's depressed or anxious, I can't go into work and tell them how I'm really feeling. And Daryl Toll of Advent Health actually came out and talked about his anxiety issues. This was a couple, that he has dealt with long-term anxiety. And that really ends the stigma of some of this. Like, we have to say that our leaders, our people, all of us, it's okay if we're angry or depressed about the things that are going on. And I think ending that stigma will open up the conversations. And at some point, if that curve actually does happen, we're not going to have a choice. Like, this is going to be our next thing to where we're going to talk about. Nobody wants to see the suicide hotline going up. Nobody wants to hear of stories of practitioners taking their own life, which you may have heard of some of those. Like, we need to get ahead of this and start talking about, we care about each other. And so we can get, by ending the stigma and doing this mental health month thing.
And I know Commissioner Hale is on this Zoom meeting, and I'm a veteran myself, and I know she's a huge advocate, and her husband, a veteran, a wartime veteran. And so when it comes to this, having that 22 push-ups because 22 veterans a day were committing suicide. That's a big deal. It became viral because all across you saw people on social media doing 22 push-ups a day. for those veterans committing suicide, and it brought that awareness to it. And that's the awareness, and the importance of it is showing how important it is to be aware of mental health and depression and all of those issues. So I can't thank you enough for coming on today. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. You've done a terrific job in wrapping this up and letting us know what is going on. I saw you at the Seminole County does their wrap-ups twice a week, and they talk about the updates for Seminole County. Thank you. You did a great job there also. And if there's any way that we can help you out, we will make sure to have this recording posted on our OviedoWinterSprings.org. And I want to give you a shout out because you were talking about NamiGo.org, correct?
NamiGo, yes, NamiGo.org. It's Amigo with an N in the front of it. So NamiGo.org.
And NamiWalks.org, because you are hoping to do a social distance walk coming up.
That's correct.
What date
That's on June 20th. That no matter what we do, it will be June 20th. And so if you want to come out and walk with us, fine. Even if you want to just register for a team, and it can be a virtual team. But right now, back to what we were saying, that mental health funding for these educational programs that we do, things like this free of charge, our support groups, it is more important than ever. So certainly consider in your business and in your personal donations to work with NAMI in any way that you can, whether that's donating, whether that's volunteering, being a part of that. In the world of Seminole County, it's actually a pretty big event for Seminole County. I mean, it's we have the mayor of Altamont Springs. The police chief of Altamont Springs, Smoots. We have Sheriff Lima's a big supporter, which is how we were on there as well. So I mean, we do a lot of work in Seminole County directly. So I certainly would encourage you, if we do have if we're allowed to put sponsor tables out there, we're still selling sponsor tables. That'll be, you talk about socially distanced, we're going to be all around that lake. So there'll be room between you and your fellow sponsors. So I would encourage that as well. I saw somebody asked for my email address. It's really easy. It's just eric.welch@namigo.org. And we can get you any of this information. I certainly would highlight one more time those, the Suicide Lifeline, the 211 line, our number at 407-253-1900. If you or someone you know is struggling with any of these issues, there is help out there. There is hope out there. Please raise them up, and thank you for your service, Bridget. I didn't know that. So that's but the world of PTSD is something familiar with veterans. And now I think all of us have a little bit more understanding of trauma. And we talked about some of the predictable emotional stages of trauma. So just continue to talk about it. It's still Mental Health Month. So repost on your own personal, all those kind of things, keep talking about and be kind to each other. That's all we can keep doing.
Absolutely. Eric, it was nice to see
Big hugs.
you.
Big hugs.
Till next time. This is our virtual Zoom hug.
All right.
We'll
see everybody soon. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Eric Welch with NAMI. Have a good one.